Hi, everybody. We're going to talk today about the evidence that I was looking for in your continental drift projects. So the first piece of evidence, and the most obvious, is the shape of the continents here. Notice how this corner of South America here on the east coast fits right into the west coast inside corner here of Africa. The east coast of the United States fits very nicely onto the west coast of Upper Africa here. And this people had noticed for quite a while and thought it was just a coincidence. But Alfred Wegener thought differently. He said, I don't think this is a coincidence. I think the continents moved. And it turns out he was right. Second piece of evidence that Wegener had was fossils. The same fossils here in southern South America as in southern Africa. And these were creatures that could not have swum across the ocean. They were not saltwater creatures. Same place in other places. You have the same fossils on one side of the ocean as on the other. And so he figured the only way that could have happened is the continents were right up next to each other at one point, and the animals could just, move from one place to another. Third piece of evidence, similar. This time it's rock formations and glacial formations on opposite sides of the ocean. He finds the same rock strata, the same kinds of rocks on both sides, the same kinds of great glacial scarring on both sides. Again, that match up just in the same way as the fossils do. Fourth piece of evidence was finding tropical fossils in polar areas. It's like, how could that happen? He figured they had to have been originally in tropical areas and then moved there. Now, it turns out there's another way that you could get some warm weather fossils in cold weather places, and that's with climate change. Believe it or not, there was a time when the South Pole, Antarctica, was actually not covered with ice, relatively warm, and lots of plants and animals grew there. There was also another time entirely different when the entire Earth was covered with ice all the way through to the equator. And so climate change definitely, ends up with strange fossils in unexpected places. But there's no doubt the continents moving also caused that. Now let's take a look at the continents as they move backwards in time. As we go backwards in time here, you can see Africa is getting closer to South America. India here is pulling away from Asia. There it is, coming down. India is going to come down and join Madagascar and Antarctica and Australia. The Atlantic Ocean is getting smaller and smaller as we go back in time. There goes the corner of South America right into Africa, as expected. Here comes the east coast of the United States right out there to join Africa. This is forming what we call Pangaea. Now, the dinosaurs were all roaming the Earth at these times, and the dinosaurs could each travel this entire distance around here. Now, it took them millions of years to do it, but they pretty much covered the entire planet, the entire of Pangaea. Okay, now we're going to move the time forward again and watch the continents as they separate. Okay, you can begin. You can't quite see Africa and South America, but there goes North America. There's the first part of the Atlantic Ocean getting bigger and bigger. And here you're going to start seeing a separation. This is the Atlantic, mid-Atlantic ridge here. And new crust is being formed along this ridge and spreading out in both directions. And so it's pushing the continents farther and farther apart from each other. Other places, crust is going back down underneath, like in the Atlantic Ocean. But this is continuing to enlarge. There goes India. Look at it slam into Asia, and the Himalayan mountains are being created there. Now we're getting up close to where we are today. We'll take a look just a little bit into the future now, because we're pretty sure that Africa is going to go smashing into Europe right here. And right along this border of Africa and Europe, you're going to get really tall mountains, just like we have in India today. In fact, the Himalayas are still getting bigger. Mount Everest is getting a little bit bigger every day because India is still smashing into Asia. But then you're going to have a really big mountain range up here along Africa as it smashes into Europe. You've got to be around in about 25 million years. So if you do, please invent a time machine and come back and tell us all about it. So there you have it. the continents really are moving around the planet, as crazy idea as it seems. A lot of people thought Wegener was out of his mind, but as time went on, the evidence proved him out. And in fact, the continents do move.
You confusingly said it